Leadbeater Bill is before Parliament and it will be voted on Friday. We've got Paul DeMarty writing in the paper on it, just to make it clear to comrades that we've got different views on the question. So he's against. I also think that he's against the principle of assisted dying. Well, you would have gathered already that doesn't apply to me. Now, I readily accept, and I think that's in the legislation, that there ought to be all manner of guards to stop suicide and assisted dying being misused. When it comes to mentally incompetent people, they would be ineligible dying. If you're a kid, rule it out. There should also be guards against greedy relatives saying we want to get rid of old rich Uncle Jack with all those millions, kill him off. We've got the will. But I also think that we ought to think about this thing in its international context from Christian sites. And not surprising, I suppose, these Christian sites standing for the right for life are opposed to this legislation. Some talk about a slippery slope. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, Gordon Brown, Diane Abbott, a whole load of people, are against this legislation. We're also told in other opinion polls that 75% of the population support it. And I suspect they support it because they've seen loved ones, dear ones, suffering horrendously at the end of their lives, or from an incurable disease such as cancer that's inoperable. I think we've all had some sort of experience like that. Either way, I want the right myself, right? Just me as an individual, while I've got my brains, while I'm fit, while I'm healthy, while I'm not depressed, to have the right to say, if I went down with an incurable disease, if my brain started to go, I want the right to choose someone to say, there he is, this is what he said, this is what we should do. I want the right to take the pill. That's my right, in my opinion. Now, that's not forcing it upon anyone else. That's not advocating it as some general solution for the old and infirm. Far from it. A Christian site warned us is the greatest threat to life since the 1967 Abortion Act. And exactly the point. So what you'll have is a lot of people attacking this bill would also, given the opportunity, attack the 1967 legislation that legalized an abortion. And that was with two doctors. You have to get the permission of two doctors before you have an abortion. So again, is that acceptable? Not to me. A woman should have the right to choose. As long as she's mentally all together, she should have the right to choose whether or not to deliver a child. My fear is, with the help of the Trump administration and those empowered by the Trump administration, there will be a generalized American push to get rid of abortion legislation, not only in the United States, but globally. And just closing the case of one Laura Marks and one Paul Lafargue, Dasha Krupskaya's Memories of Lenin. And Lenin and Krupskaya were in Paris in exile in 1911 when Marx's daughter and Marx's son-in-law took the decision to commit suicide. It was a mutual pact. They took cyanide. Paul trained as a doctor, so I think he wasn't a practicing doctor, but he knew what he was doing. That either of them was suffering, from some incurable disease. As far as I know, that wasn't the case. And they wrote a letter. I won't quote it all. I only quote the first bit of it and the end of it, but it goes, healthier body and mind. They talked as a single being here. I end my life before pitiless old age, which has taken from me my pleasures and joys one after the other, and which has been stripping me of my physical and mental powers, and can paralyze my every being and break my will and make myself a burden to myself and others. And they ended their suicide note with "Long live communism, long live international socialism." Now, what we ought to note about that is that that didn't go down universally well in the socialist movement. So, for example, the leader of German social democracy, an aged August Bebel, he didn't approve at all. He died in 1914. He died early enough to save his honor. He didn't become a social chauvinist. He might have become a social chauvinist. The evidence points in that direction, but he didn't. Worth quoting Lenin as well. He actually spoke at the funeral. Apparently, again, according to this memoir of Krupskaya, later in life, Lenin turned round to her and said, well, you know, if I can't serve the party anymore, then I would take the route of Lafargue and Laura Marx.